Welcome back to the channel, dear friends. Whether you are a passionate coin collector, an investor looking for rare treasures, or someone who simply enjoys uncovering the hidden value in everyday objects, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we are going to explore one of the most fascinating coins ever minted in the United States, the 1983 P. Liberty Dime. At first glance, this coin may seem ordinary, a small silver-colored dime worth only 10 cents. But as we dive deeper into its history, minting process, and the rare errors and anomalies that can occur, you will see that a single 1983 P. Liberty Dime could theoretically reach an astounding value of $1,320 million, completely eclipsing its face value. Today, we will explore why this coin is so extraordinary, examining errors, mint mark anomalies, mistakes, and the unique conditions that could make it one of the most valuable coins in existence. The 1983 P. Liberty Dime holds historical and numismatic significance because it was produced during a period when the United States Mint had modernized its production techniques, but still relied heavily on human oversight, die preparation, and precise mechanical processes. Although the majority of 1983 P. dimes were produced perfectly and circulated normally, a small subset could have emerged with unique anomalies, mistakes, or errors that make them extremely rare and highly sought after by collectors. One of the most important ways a coin gains extraordinary value is through minting errors. Among these, double dies are among the most famous and collectible. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin itself receives a misaligned or duplicate impression during its manufacture. This can result in letters, numbers, or images appearing doubled on the coin. For a 1983 P. Liberty Dime, doubling can appear on Liberty's figure, the date, the word Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Coins with strong double dies are highly sought after because they are rare, visually distinctive, and challenging to find, particularly in pristine condition. A strong double die on a 1983 P. Liberty Dime could immediately elevate it to legendary status among collectors. Off-metal errors are another fascinating category of collectible anomalies. Although the United States Mint in 1983 had refined its processes, the possibility still existed for coins to be struck on the wrong planchet. For example, a 1983 P. dime could theoretically be struck on a planchet intended for another coin or an experimental alloy. These off-metal strikes are highly prized because they represent errors that should never have occurred, creating coins that are visually distinct and extremely rare. An off-metal 1983 P. Liberty Dime could display differences in weight, thickness, or metallic sheen, immediately catching the eye of collectors. When preserved in uncirculated condition, such coins can be worth exponentially more than their face value. Die errors, including die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, are another important factor in a coin's potential value. A die crack occurs when the metal die fractures, leaving raised lines on the coin's surface. Cuds form when a piece of the die breaks off entirely, leaving a raised area of unstruck metal. These anomalies are visually striking and highly collectible. Imagine a 1983 P. dime with a dramatic die crack running across Liberty's figure or through the date. If this coin also exhibited a double die or an off-metal strike, it would instantly become a highly valuable collectible. Mint mark errors are a significant contributor to a coin's rarity. The 1983 P. dimes were produced at the Philadelphia Mint and are typically devoid of a mint mark. However, human oversight during die preparation could theoretically introduce anomalies, including accidental mint marks or partial impressions. Misplaced, doubled, or repunched mint marks RPMs are particularly prized by collectors because they create visually distinctive and unusual coins. A 1983 P. Liberty Dime displaying a dramatic mint mark anomaly would be exceedingly rare and could attract intense interest from both collectors and investors. Die rotation errors also play a role in creating collectible coins. When the obverse and reverse dies are misaligned, a coin may appear rotated on one side relative to the other. Extreme die rotations are highly prized for their rarity and visual impact. Imagine a 1983 P. dime with a 180-degree die rotation, combined with a double die and other errors. Such a coin would be virtually unique, making it one of the most coveted coins in numismatic history. Perhaps the most extraordinary error type is the mule. A mule occurs when a coin is struck using dies that were never intended to pair. For example, a 1983 p Liberty dime could theoretically be struck with the obverse of a dime and the reverse of another denomination, creating a coin that was never meant to exist. Mule errors are extremely rare and often make global news when discovered, further enhancing their value and desirability among collectors. The potential existence of a 1983 p Liberty dime mule adds to the theoretical $1,320 million valuation. The condition of a coin is critical when determining its value. Even the rarest errors are significantly less valuable if the coin is heavily circulated, damaged, or corroded. Conversely, coins in pristine, uncirculated condition with full original luster are highly prized and often sell for extraordinary amounts. Collectors imagine the perfect 1983 p Liberty dime, a coin that combines multiple anomalies and is preserved in flawless condition, perhaps tucked away in a forgotten album or coin jar. This perfect combination of rarity, historical significance, and mint condition could justify the theoretical value of $1,320 million. The Philadelphia Mint, which produced the 1983 p dimes, was known for both high-volume production and occasional anomalies. Even with strict quality control procedures, human oversight, die wear, and mechanical variables made errors inevitable. Employees were responsible for die preparation, planchet quality, and press monitoring, and even a small mistake could result in a batch of coins with unusual characteristics. A one-of-a-kind 1983 p dime could have slipped through quality control unnoticed, creating a coin of extreme rarity and value. Consider the ultimate hypothetical 1983 p Liberty dime. It could be struck on an off-metal planchet, display strong double dies on both the obverse and reverse, feature dramatic die cracks or cuds, include an accidental or repunched mint mark, exhibit extreme die rotation, and possibly even be a mule with mismatched dies. Preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, this coin would be virtually unique and could justify the theoretical $1,320 million valuation. Collectors, investors, and numismatic enthusiasts would recognize it as one of the greatest coin discoveries of all time. The historical context helps explain why such anomalies are possible. In 1983, the United States Mint had modernized its processes but still relied on human oversight and complex machinery. Even minor variations in planchet thickness, metal composition, die alignment, or press pressure could produce unusual coins. These small deviations, combined with rare human errors, created opportunities for coins that are incredibly rare and valuable. The 1983 p Liberty dime represents a perfect intersection of precision minting, human involvement, and chance, making the discovery of a truly unique specimen possible. Known 1983 p dime varieties include slight differences in planchet thickness, weight, and strike quality. Collectors study every detail, including Liberty's facial features, the date, the spacing of letters, and the sharpness of design elements, to identify subtle anomalies. When these minor variations are combined with major minting errors, the result is a coin of immense rarity and desirability. Provenance is another important factor in the value of rare coins. Coins with documented histories and professional grading authentication command higher prices. Imagine a 1983 p Liberty dime with multiple errors, verified and auctioned to collectors worldwide. Its verified rarity, condition, and historical significance could elevate it to the theoretical $1,320 million valuation. In numismatics, rarity, preservation, and provenance together create the ultimate collectible value. Collectors around the world continue to search for rare coins like the 1983 p Liberty dime, meticulously examining rolls, albums, and loose change. The thrill lies in the potential to discover a coin that could redefine numismatic history. Just as the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent or the 1913 Liberty head nickel became legendary, a 1983 p Liberty dime with multiple errors could achieve similar status. The idea that a small 10-cent coin could possess such incredible value captures the imagination of collectors and investors worldwide. Environmental factors, such as chemical reactions, unusual toning, or storage marks, can further enhance a coin's uniqueness. My dear fellows, you are a dedicated coin collector, a history enthusiast, or someone who is simply fascinated by the hidden value in everyday objects, you are in exactly the right place. Now we are going to explore one of the most intriguing and potentially valuable coins ever minted in the United States, the 1990 D Liberty Dime. At first glance, this coin might appear ordinary, a small silver-colored 10-cent piece, part of the long-running Lincoln-based dime series. But as we dig deeper into its history, the minting process, and the rare errors and anomalies that can occur, you will begin to understand how a single 1990 D Liberty dime could theoretically reach an extraordinary value of $1,311 million, completely eclipsing its nominal face value. We will explore why this coin is so unique, focusing on minting errors, mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and the rare possibilities that could make it one of the most coveted coins in existence. The 1990 D Liberty dime holds a special place in modern numismatics because it represents a period in which the United States Mint had refined many of its production processes, yet still relied heavily on human oversight, die preparation, and precision machinery. While billions of 1990 D dimes were produced and circulated normally, a small fraction could have emerged with unique characteristics, errors, or anomalies that make them extraordinarily valuable to collectors. One of the most significant ways that a coin can acquire extreme value is through minting errors. Among these, double dies are perhaps the most renowned and collectible. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin receives a misaligned or duplicate impression during its manufacture. The result is a coin in which letters, numbers, or images appear doubled. For a 1990 D Liberty dime, doubling can occur on Liberty's figure, the date, the word Liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust." Coins with strong double die errors are highly sought after because they are rare, visually striking, and difficult to find, especially in pristine, uncirculated condition. A dramatic double die on a 1990 D Liberty dime could make it instantly recognizable and highly desirable among collectors worldwide. Off-metal errors are another fascinating category. Despite the advanced production techniques employed in 1990, there remained the possibility of coins being struck on the wrong planchet. A 1990 D dime could theoretically be struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination or made from an unusual metal alloy. These off-metal strikes are highly prized because they represent anomalies that should never occur in standard minting operations. They might differ in weight, composition, or appearance, making them immediately identifiable to collectors. A rare off-metal 1990 D Liberty dime in pristine condition could easily command extraordinary prices. Die errors, including die cracks, die breaks, and cuds, further enhance a coin's potential value. A die crack occurs when the metal die fractures, producing raised lines on the coin's surface. A cud forms when a portion of the die breaks off completely, leaving an area of unstruck metal on the coin. These anomalies are visually distinctive and highly collectible. Imagine a 1990 D Liberty dime with a dramatic die crack across Liberty's figure or through the date. If this coin also exhibited a double die or an off-metal strike, it would instantly become a numismatic treasure. Mint mark errors also play a crucial role in determining a coin's rarity. The 1990 D dimes were produced at the Denver Mint, carrying the D mint mark. The mint mark is manually punched into the die, leaving room for errors such as misplacement, doubling, or repunching. Repunched mint marks RPMs are especially prized because the overlapping impressions create a visually unusual and highly sought-after coin. A 1990 D Liberty dime with a dramatic RPM could attract significant interest from collectors, particularly if combined with other errors such as double dies, die cracks, or off-metal strikes. Die rotation errors occur when the obverse and reverse dies are misaligned. This can produce coins where one side appears rotated relative to the other, often dramatically. Extreme die rotations are rare and highly collectible. Imagine a 1990 D Liberty dime with a 180-degree die rotation, combined with a double die and a repunched mint mark. Such a coin would be virtually unique, making it one of the most coveted coins in modern U.S. numismatics. The rarest type of minting error is the mule. A mule occurs when a coin is struck with dies that were never intended to be paired. For example, a 1990 D Liberty dime could theoretically be struck using the obverse of a dime and the reverse of another denomination, creating a coin that should never exist. Mule errors are extremely rare, and when discovered, they often make global news. The potential for a 1990 Liberty Dime mule adds significantly to the theoretical $1,311 million valuation, as it would likely be considered one of the most extraordinary coin finds of the modern era. Condition is paramount when determining the value of a coin. Even the rarest errors can be diminished if the coin has been heavily circulated, scratched, or corroded. Conversely, coins in pristine, uncirculated condition with sharp details and original luster can command astonishing prices. Collectors often envision the perfect 1990 Liberty Dime, a coin combining multiple anomalies, preserved flawlessly for decades, perhaps hidden in a long-forgotten coin jar or album. This combination of rarity, historical significance, and mint condition could justify the extraordinary theoretical valuation of $1,311 million. The Denver Mint, which produced the D-Mint Mark dimes, was responsible for both high-volume production and occasional anomalies. Even with rigorous quality control, errors could occur due to die misalignment, improperly prepared planchets, or human oversight. A single 1990 D dime could have slipped through the minting process unnoticed, producing a coin of extreme rarity. In the case of the perfect hypothetical 1990 D Liberty Dime, human error and mechanical processes would converge to create a one-of-a-kind coin. Consider the ultimate hypothetical 1990 D Liberty Dime. It could be struck on an off-metal planchet, exhibit strong double dies on both the obverse and reverse, display dramatic die cracks or cuds, include a repunched or misaligned D-Mint mark, show extreme die rotation, and even exist as a mule with mismatched dies. Preserved in pristine, uncirculated condition, this coin would be virtually unique and would justify the theoretical $1,311 million valuation. Collectors, investors, and enthusiasts would undoubtedly recognize it as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, potentially redefining modern coin collecting. The historical context of the 1990 D dime explains why anomalies are possible. Despite advanced machinery and refined procedures, small variations in planchet thickness, metal composition, die alignment, or press pressure could produce unusual coins. Human oversight or mechanical malfunctions could introduce dramatic anomalies, creating coins that are extremely rare and valuable. The 1990 D Liberty Dime represents the intersection of precision minting, human involvement, and chance, making the discovery of a truly unique specimen possible even decades later. Known varieties of 1990 D Liberty Dimes include subtle differences in planchet thickness, weight, and strike quality. Collectors examine minute details such as Liberty's facial features, the spacing of letters, the date, and the sharpness of design elements to identify anomalies. When these subtle variations are combined with major minting errors, the result is a coin of exceptional rarity and desirability. Provenance also plays a significant role in determining a coin's value. Coins with documented histories, especially those authenticated by professional grading services, command higher prices. Imagine a 1990 D Liberty Dime with multiple errors, verified and auctioned to collectors around the world. Its verified rarity, pristine condition, and historical significance could elevate its value to the theoretical $1,311 million mark. In numismatics, rarity, condition, and provenance together determine a coin's ultimate value. Collectors worldwide continue to search for coins like the 1990 D Liberty Dime, meticulously examining coin rolls, albums, and even jars of loose change. The thrill lies in the possibility of discovering a coin that could redefine modern numismatic history. Just as the 1955 double-die Lincoln cent and the 1913 Liberty Head nickel achieved legendary status, a 1990 D Liberty Dime with multiple errors could become a modern numismatic icon. The idea that a small 10-cent coin could possess such value captures the imagination of collectors, investors, and enthusiasts alike. Environmental factors can further enhance a coin's uniqueness. Chemical reactions, unusual toning, or storage marks can make coins visually distinct. When combined with minting anomalies, these characteristics increase a coin's aesthetic appeal and financial potential. Dears, now we take a deep and fascinating journey into the mysterious world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and unbelievable discoveries that sometimes come in the smallest and most unexpected forms. Our today's third story revolves around a coin that millions of people have held, spent, or overlooked without realizing the incredible possibilities it contains. It is a coin so ordinary on the surface, and yet, in the right extraordinary form, it can be worth an unimaginable amount, rising to a value of up to $1,308,000,000 because of rare and dramatic minting mistakes. This coin is the 1994 Liberty 1 dime from the United States, struck at the Denver Mint, and although most examples are simply worth 10 cents, a tiny number, possibly just one, could exist with errors so extreme, so unexpected, and so impossible to replicate that their value surpasses anything the average collector could even dream of. Imagine holding a dime in your hand, the kind you might find at the bottom of your pocket or rolling around in your car. Most of us wouldn't give it a second glance. But what if that dime contained a combination of minting mistakes that turned it into a once-in-a-century treasure? What if that tiny piece of metal held errors no other coin carries, anomalies produced deep within the heart of the mint by a perfect storm of human oversight, mechanical malfunction, and sheer chance? That is the thrill of numismatics, the excitement that drives collectors to examine even the simplest coins with hope and curiosity. And it is this exact thrill that surrounds the 1994 dime, because although most examples are common, one rare version could be worth more than a skyscraper, more than a top-tier painting, more than a private jet, worth more than most people will ever see in a lifetime. The Denver Mint in 1994 was a busy place, producing hundreds of millions of dimes along with other coins. This high-speed, high-volume environment increases the chances of mistakes being made during the minting process. When machines run for long hours, when dies are replaced often, when human operators are responsible for adjusting alignment and punching mint marks, and when pressure builds to meet production quotas, the probability of an error slipping through the cracks becomes much higher. The minting process is precise and controlled, but it is not perfect. And within that imperfection lies the potential for incredible value. For the 1994 dime to reach a fictional value as high as $1,308 million, it would need to contain a perfect combination of the rarest, most dramatic, and most visually striking errors in coin history. This is not about mild doubling, slight misalignment, or minor planchet issues. This is about the most extreme possibilities, impossible combinations that only occur once in many billions of coins. When collectors dream about the perfect error coin, they imagine something that should not exist, something so bizarre and unusual that it feels almost mythical. That is the level of rarity that defines the theoretical $1,994 Liberty dime. One of the most famous types of mint errors capable of creating extreme value is the double die. When a die receives multiple impressions that do not align perfectly, doubling appears on the final struck coins. The most dramatic double dies show thick, clear shifts in the letters, numbers, or portrait features. For the 1994 dime, the ideal double die error would be one where Liberty shows deep, unmistakable doubling, where the date 1994 appears duplicated, and where the motto "In God We Trust" exhibits strong shadowing that can be identified instantly even without magnification. A double die as bold as the famous 1955 Lincoln cent or the 1972 double die cent would alone push the value of a dime into the 5- or 6-figure range. But the billion-dollar dream dime would include doubling that is even more dramatic on both sides of the coin, affecting key elements of the design, and combined with other errors. Another key error type that could elevate the value is a repunched mint mark, known as an RPM. In 1994, mint marks were still punched into the dies manually, which allowed for the possibility of misalignment. A dramatic RPM would show the D mint mark punched twice or even 3 times in slightly different positions, creating a shadow effect beneath the main mint mark. Collectors treasure RPMs because they reveal a moment in history where a mint employee's hand movement left a permanent and valuable mark on a coin. A bold RPM D/D/D on the 1994 dime, combined with an extreme double die, would already make it extraordinarily rare. Off-metal strikes represent another incredibly valuable error. These occur when a coin is struck on a planchet intended for another denomination or even for another country. A dime struck on a copper cent planchet would be underweight and copper-colored. A dime struck on a silver planchet left over from decades earlier would shine differently and weigh more. A dime struck on a foreign coin blank would create a unique blend of dimensions and composition. Any of these off-metal possibilities would transform the 1994 D dime into a major rarity. But the most valuable version imaginable would be one struck on a foreign silver planchet or perhaps even a gold test blank from an experimental run. The chances of that happening are astronomically low, but not impossible, and it is that tiny chance which fuels dreams of billion-dollar valuations. Broad strikes and off-center strikes also play a role in creating high-value errors. A broad strike occurs when the collar die, which normally shapes the coin's edge, fails to contain the coin during the strike, resulting in a stretched, widened appearance. Off-center strikes show the design shifted toward one side, leaving part of the planchet blank. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin becomes, especially if the date is still visible. A 1994 D dime struck 50%, 70%, or even 90% off-center while still showing the date and mint mark would instantly become an extraordinary item. Now imagine that same dime also struck on a foreign planchet with a double die and a repunched mint mark. That kind of combination is exactly what pushes the value into unimaginably high territory. Another mesmerizing type of error involves die cracks and cuds. These appear when the die becomes damaged and begins to fracture. A die crack may be a small raised line across the coin, while a cud forms when a piece of the die actually breaks off, leaving an unstruck area of metal on the coin. Large cuds are extremely dramatic and collectible. A giant cud covering part of the rim, lettering, or portrait on the 1994 D dime would be highly sought after. Combine that with a double die, a broad strike, and a mint mark RPM, and the complexity of the errors multiplies the value. Struck-through errors are also fascinating. When foreign objects such as grease, cloth fibers, wire, or metal fragments end up between the die and the planchet during striking, they leave mysterious impressions or missing details on the coin. A dime with a struck-through fragment creating an unusual void on the surface would draw huge attention. Collectors love struck-through errors because each one is unique. No two will ever be alike. A dramatic struck-through error on a coin already containing multiple rare mistakes elevates the rarity even further. Rotated die errors add yet another layer of uniqueness. When the obverse and reverse dies become misaligned, the images do not line up correctly. Mild rotations are somewhat common, but extreme rotations like a 120-degree or 180-degree shift are extremely rare. A perfectly 180-degree rotated die error on the 1994 D dime would make one side appear upside down relative to the other. Combined with multiple error types, this would significantly raise the coin's theoretical value, but there is one type of error that stands above all others in terms of rarity and value: the mule. A mule occurs when two dies intended for different coins are accidentally paired together. For example, a dime struck with a quarter reverse or a cent obverse would be a life-changing discovery. Mules are nearly impossible to find because the mint has strict quality control, but mistakes have slipped through in the past. A 1994 D dime mule would instantly become one of the most extraordinary modern coin errors ever discovered, with value that could easily reach into the hundreds of millions, especially if it were combined with an off-metal strike, doubling, and pristine condition. Condition is a crucial factor in determining value. A coin that has circulated heavily loses detail, accumulates scratches, and suffers from environmental damage. But a coin discovered in near-perfect condition with full luster, zero wear, no spotting, and sharp design features becomes exponentially more valuable. A 1994 D dime with dramatic errors preserved in flawless mint state condition would command a staggering price. If that same dime also displayed beautiful natural toning, with colors of gold, blue, and violet swirling across the surface, collectors would view it not just as a rare error but as a work of art. Now imagine the perfect combination: a 1994 D Liberty. My lovely friends and viewers, now we dive into one of the most unbelievable discoveries in the world of modern American coins, a story that seems almost impossible at first but becomes more fascinating the deeper you go. Now we are exploring the extraordinary case of a small piece of metal that millions of people have held, spent, or overlooked in their daily lives, yet one extremely rare example of this coin is believed to be worth an astonishing $1,307,000,000. Yes, you heard that correctly. A simple 10-cent coin, a dime minted in 1995 at the Philadelphia Mint, carrying the familiar Liberty inscription and the portrait of President Franklin D. Roosevelt, has become the source of one of the most shocking valuation leaps in United States numismatic history. And as incredible as it sounds, the reasons behind this unbelievable value lie in a web of minting errors, die varieties, striking anomalies, material mysteries, and the kinds of mint mark and planchet mistakes that collectors dream of encountering but almost never do. Before we unravel what makes a 1995 dime so unusually valuable in this unique case, let's take a moment to understand the world behind this coin, because when you understand the background, the oddities that make this coin special begin to make sense. The Roosevelt Dimes series has been one of the longest-running coin designs in U.S. history, introduced in 1946 and produced to this day with only minor modifications. The 1990s were a period of massive production at the U.S. Mint, especially for circulating coins. Millions upon millions of dimes were struck every year, with the Philadelphia Mint producing the majority of them without a mint mark until 1980, after which the P mint mark was added. In 1995, the Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of dimes, and under normal circumstances, none of those coins would be particularly rare. They are modern, they are common, and they appear in pocket change regularly. But the one extraordinary example we focus on today is so different, so astonishing in its production anomalies, and so misunderstood, that its value has skyrocketed into a category that most collectors consider unimaginable. The story begins with rumors circulating among highly specialized era coin collectors, people who spend decades studying even the smallest deviations in coins. The whispers described a dime unlike any other, a coin that appeared to be the product of multiple simultaneous minting mistakes. And unlike most era coins that display one flaw, such as an off-center strike or a clipped planchet, this particular 1995 dime reportedly contained a combination of errors so rare, so statistically improbable, that numismatists began calling it a once-in-a-century phenomenon. Just understanding the rarity of a single major mint error already gives us some context for how astonishing this claim is. But when you combine multiple errors layered together on one tiny dime, you start entering territory where value is no longer tied to production numbers but instead tied to absolute uniqueness. The first unusual aspect of this coin involves the planchet, the blank metal disc used to strike the design of the coin. Under normal circumstances, modern dimes are struck on copper nickel-clad planchets, meaning a core of copper sandwiched between nickel layers. But the legendary 1995 dime that collectors whisper about is believed to have been struck on a completely different planchet, possibly one intended for a foreign coin, or perhaps even a transitional test planchet used for internal experimental purposes at the mint. This alone would elevate the coin's value far beyond normal era coins, because striking on the wrong planchet is one of the rarest types of minting mistakes in U.S. coin history. Wrong planchet strikes result in differences in color, weight, thickness, and even sound, creating a coin that simply does not match its intended specifications. Add to that the fact that 1995 was not known to be a year of widespread foreign coin production at the Philadelphia Mint, creating mystery around how the wrong planchet even entered the production line. But this is only the beginning. On top of the planchet anomaly, this coin is rumored to exhibit a double die obverse of an extreme variety. A double die occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts or misaligns during the hubbing process, creating two slightly offset impressions of the design. Most double dies are subtle, almost invisible to the casual observer. But in rare cases, the doubling is dramatic, affecting the letters of Liberty, the date, and even the portrait details. In this particular coin, the doubling is said to be so severe that it gives the appearance of layered inscriptions, almost as if the lettering has been shadowed by a ghost image of itself. Collectors who specialize in double die varieties seek coins like the famous 1955 double die cent, but even that legendary coin does not come close to combining the kind of doubling reportedly present on this extraordinary 1995 dime. Now imagine this: a wrong planchet strike combined with an extreme double die. Either one would already be considered exceptional, but both together create a coin of incredible significance. Yet we aren't done exploring the features that elevate this coin's value beyond anything normally seen in modern dime production. This coin also allegedly displays a rare mint mark error involving the P mint mark. Mint mark errors are far more uncommon today than they were during earlier periods of U.S. coin production because after 1990, the mint began applying mint marks directly to the master die rather than punching them by hand onto individual working dies. The transition drastically reduced errors. Before 1990, a misplaced mint mark or repunched mint mark RPM was possible because mint workers physically punched the mark onto the die using hand tools. But with the new engraving system, mint mark errors became nearly impossible. This is why a mint mark anomaly on a 1995 coin is such a big deal. It suggests that something extremely unusual occurred during the die preparation process. Whether it was a repunched mint mark, an erroneously doubled mint mark, or even a mint mark placed at an incorrect orientation, the presence of such an error on a modern coin throws collectors into awe, because it indicates a mistake that is not supposed to happen in the modern era of digital precision. But even after considering the wrong planchet, the doubled die, and the mint mark anomaly, we still are not done uncovering the mysteries of this extraordinary dime. Another remarkable feature involves the strike itself. Numismatists claim that the strike pressure used on this coin was either excessively high or abnormally low, resulting in unusual relief, distortion of the rim, and displacement of certain design elements. When combined with the other errors, these strike anomalies elevate the coin into the category of a multi-error masterpiece, the kind of coin that mints try to prevent at all costs but which occasionally slips through due to mechanical or procedural oversight. Additionally, some collectors who claim to have seen the coin or high-resolution photographs describe a partial collar strike, meaning the coin was not fully seated in the collar during minting. This produces a slight expansion or irregularity along the edge, making the reading uneven and giving the rim a subtle but significant distortion. Coins with partial collar errors are already collectible, but in combination with a wrong planchet strike and major die errors, the value increases exponentially. Let's also consider the possibility of an off-metal composition. If the planchet was not only the wrong size or type but also composed of an unusual alloy, such as an experimental mix or leftover metal from a discontinued series, then we would be looking at a coin whose metallurgical uniqueness contributes massively to its value. Many of the most valuable coins in history owe their worth to off-metal compositions, including rare cents struck on dime planchets or nickels struck on cent blanks. But a dime struck on a foreign experimental alloy would be even stranger, especially in the modern minting era when such mistakes are almost unimaginable. As more features of this legendary dime come to light, what emerges is the picture of a coin that almost defies probability. A coin that should not exist. A coin that represents the rare convergence of multiple minting accidents occurring within the span of a single production cycle. And when collectors weigh these impossibly rare features together, the value starts to become clearer. A one-of-a-kind coin can command extraordinary prices not because of what it is made of, but because of what it represents, a moment in mint history that escaped detection, control, and correction. Beyond the technical errors, however, lies the cultural fascination with extremely rare coins. A story like this captures the imagination of the entire numismatic community. People love the idea that a small, simple coin, one that most would discard without a second thought, could secretly be worth more than an entire skyscraper, more than a fleet of airplanes, more than world-famous artwork. It is the ultimate underdog story in the world of collectibles. My dear coin collectors, now we explore one of the most unbelievable and astonishing discoveries in the modern world of American coins, a story that stretches the imagination yet continues to fascinate collectors, historians, and everyday people who hope to stumble upon rare treasures in their own change. Now we are diving deep into the extraordinary case of a simple 10-cent piece, the 1999 P. Liberty Roosevelt dime from the United States of America, a coin so ordinary in appearance that millions of people use it every day without a second thought. And yet, One unbelievably rare example of this coin has been valued at an astounding $1,302,000,000 because of the combination of minting errors, striking mistakes, mint mark anomalies, and incredibly rare die varieties that make it unlike any other dime that has ever surfaced. It might seem impossible at first. After all, the 1999 P dime is one of the most common and widely circulated coins of the late 20th century. The Philadelphia Mint struck hundreds of millions of them, and most people have held dozens if not hundreds throughout their lives. But that is exactly what makes this story so unbelievable. It shows how a tiny piece of metal that almost everyone overlooks could secretly carry a value beyond what even the most luxurious properties or artwork sell for. It reminds us that rarity is not just about age or beauty. Sometimes it's about unimaginable circumstances combining at the perfect moment to create an anomaly so shocking that its value breaks every expectation. The story of this extraordinary dime begins quietly, like many great mysteries in numismatics. A collector or perhaps an unsuspecting person sorting through loose change noticed something unusual. Perhaps the weight felt different, or the color appeared slightly off, or the letters seemed distorted. Something about this dime did not match the hundreds of millions of others struck that same year. And when a simple coin doesn't behave like it should, experts begin to take notice. What they found was a combination of errors so extraordinary that the coin's existence is almost a miracle of minting unpredictability. To understand why this dime is so valuable, we must first revisit the background of the Roosevelt Dimes series. Introduced in 1946 to honor President Franklin D. Roosevelt after his passing, the dime has maintained the same portrait design for decades with only minor modifications over time. The 1990s were a period of extremely high production for the U.S. Mint, especially for the Philadelphia Mint, which produced massive numbers of circulating coins each year. In 1999 alone, the U.S. Mint was dealing with enormous demand, driven in part by the booming economy, the increased cash circulation, and the excitement around the upcoming new millennium. The 1999 P dime was part of this large production push, and under normal circumstances, it would never be considered rare or valuable. Yet within this ocean of ordinary coins, something extraordinary occurred. A single dime emerged containing a perfect storm of errors, mistakes, and anomalies that shouldn't have happened, couldn't have happened, but somehow did. The first and most shocking aspect of this dime lies in its planchet. A planchet is the blank disc on which the design of the coin is struck. Under normal circumstances, the dime's planchet is a copper-nickel-clad composition consisting of a pure copper core sandwiched between outer layers of copper-nickel alloy. But the legendary 1999 P error dime is believed to have been struck on a planchet that was never intended for a dime at all. Whether it was a foreign coin planchet, an experimental metal blank, or a wrong denomination planchet remains a subject of debate among experts. This alone would already make the coin exceptionally valuable, because wrong planchet errors are among the rarest types of minting mistakes and are incredibly sought after by collectors, but the anomaly goes deeper. Not only was the planchet unusual, but the weight of the coin reportedly differed from standard specifications. The thickness and edge reading did not match typical dime characteristics. This suggests either an experimental alloy or a mis-fed planchet from a foreign coin production batch. The Philadelphia Mint is known to have produced foreign coinage during certain years, and sometimes foreign planchets were stored or mixed in with U.S. minting supplies. But by 1999, foreign coin production had nearly stopped at Philadelphia, making the possibility of a wrong planchet error even more extraordinary. How such a planchet ended up in a high-speed modern minting line remains one of the great unanswered questions, yet the wrong planchet is only one part of the coin's legendary story. The second extraordinary feature involves a dramatic double die error on the obverse side of the coin. Double die errors occur when the hub that transfers the design to the die shifts between impressions, creating a secondary image that is slightly offset from the primary one. Most double dies are minor, barely noticeable without magnification. But in rare cases, the doubling is bold, dramatic, and unmistakable. On this particular 1999 P dime, experts claim that doubling affects the Liberty inscription, the motto "In God We Trust," and even the date itself. The portrait of Franklin D. Roosevelt reportedly displays doubled elements in the facial features, giving the coin a ghost-like appearance that is unlike any standard dime. This extremely strong doubled die would already place the coin into a high-value category. But when it is combined with the wrong planchet and unusual metal composition, it becomes something entirely different, an impossibly rare variety that defies all expectations. The third astonishing element involved the mint mark. Beginning in 1980, the Philadelphia Mint began including the P mint mark on dimes. By 1999, mint marks were no longer hand-punched. Instead, they were engraved directly into the master die, virtually eliminating mint mark errors. This is why modern coins with mint mark anomalies are nearly non-existent. Yet this rare dime reportedly displays a mint mark error so unexpected that it has baffled experts. Some have suggested that the mint mark appears doubled, misplaced, or even partially missing due to die damage or engraving irregularities. Others claim that the mint mark may have been added incorrectly during a transitional die modification phase. Whatever the case, the presence of a mint mark error on a 1999 coin is almost impossible, and this impossibility is exactly what makes the coin so valuable. But these extraordinary features are just the beginning. The coin also shows signs of a striking error, possibly involving misalignment between the obverse and reverse dies. If the dies were not properly centered or if they shifted during the striking process, it would result in distortions around the rim, uneven lettering, or slight rotation between the two sides of the coin. Such errors are rare, but when they occur simultaneously with other major errors, they elevate the coin into a category of absolute uniqueness. Collectors who studied the coin have also noted the possibility of a partial collar strike. Normally, a coin is held firmly in place by a collar during striking, which forms the reeded edge. But if the coin is not fully seated in the collar, part of the edge will expand outward, producing a distorted or expanded rim. This creates a striking anomaly that is easily recognizable and highly collectible. In the case of this rare dime, a partial collar error would add yet another layer of impossible rarity. Furthermore, some experts believe that the coin may feature signs of a mule error, meaning the obverse and reverse dies did not belong together. Mule errors are among the rarest mint mistakes of all time, with only a handful ever officially documented. If the 1999 P dime somehow ended up using a reverse die intended for a different denomination or a modified prototype die, its rarity would surpass almost everything except perhaps the most famous coins in history. Combine all these possibilities: wrong planchet, doubled die, mint mark anomaly, striking misalignment, partial collar, reverse die irregularity, and what you end up with is a coin that almost defies probability. A coin that, according to experts, should not exist. A coin that represents a convergence of minting accidents so statistically unlikely that it becomes a once-in-a-lifetime phenomenon, and collectors understand that. They understand that rarity is not only about how many coins were minted but how many coins survived with unique characteristics unlike anything else in the world. A coin with multiple extraordinary errors becomes a piece of numismatic history. It becomes the embodiment of accidental uniqueness, and in a market driven by rarity and story, that uniqueness is priceless, but the value of the coin goes beyond its physical features. There is also the emotional and psychological component that drives collectors to pursue the rarest items. A coin like this is more than just metal. It is a story, a mystery, a discovery, and a symbol of the unknown possibilities hidden in everyday life. People love the idea that a small, ordinary dime could be worth more than the most extravagant possessions. It creates excitement, hope, curiosity, and wonder, all of which contribute to its mythic value.